We're back to talking about causation again. The previous two verses were about that, and so is the next verse, verse 779. The theorisers explain a cause to consist in the simultaneity of antecedent and consequent. The birth of all things is told by means of a light, a jar, a disciple, etc. So what is a cause? Well, here it's being explained as two concomitant events. I remember an illustration that Alan Watts used. Imagine you're looking through a fence. There's just a gap in a fence, and you see, well, basically there's a cat walking by on the other side of the fence, and you see the head go by, followed shortly by a tail. And this, no matter how many times the cat walks by, this is what you see: a head followed by a tail. So a certain understanding would say that the head is the cause of the tail. They're concomitant events. Can't quite remember what the point Alan Watts was making here. I think he too was trying to perhaps to get rid of this idea of cause and effect, this idea that we live in a universe which is a bit like a big billiard table with lots of atoms bouncing into each other like billiard balls, and somehow everything is predetermined. So cause and effect here is simply a way of talking. And we've got this next phrase which seems a bit cryptic. The birth of all things is told by means of a light, a jar, a disciple, etc. I think what's happening here is that certain Hindu teachings are being criticised. There's a teaching in Hinduism called the triple body. You've got the causal body, the subtle body, and the gross body. The causal body is what causes the other two bodies, the subtle body and the gross body. The subtle body is the mind and all the vital forces associated with it. And the gross body is the physical body. So the causal body is what gives rise to the other two. It's the cause of them. And the causal body is also the first layer of ignorance which masks the individual from the universal self. And this is where these illustrative examples come in. The disciple, the spiritual aspirant, is regarded as being like a jar of water which is separate from the oceanic self. Or we could just use a jar of light which is separate from the universal light. So this jar is like the causal body which keeps the light of the disciple separate from the universal light. And so you get into the idea that there's all sorts of practices that you must do for the light in the jar to realize once again its identity with the universal light. So this causal body gives rise to notions of the individual, the jiva, which I think is the combination of the gross body and the subtle body. And that jiva sees itself as separate from the world. It somehow has to navigate its way through the world and get on with its practices in order to realize its unity once again with the universal light. In contrast with this, we've got the next verse concerning the Buddhas. Verse 780. The Buddhas are not Samskrita-made, but are endowed with the marks of excellence. They belong to the nature of a Cakravartin. The Buddhas are not so named because of these marks. So the Buddhas are not Samskrita-made. In other words, the Buddhas do not have any components. We're told that they're endowed with marks of excellence, and there's a standard list of these marks, or probably several standard lists of these marks, and they're quite bizarre. The world conqueror, the Cakravartin, also has these marks. But these marks are quite irrelevant to the Buddha. Now, it is a very bizarre list of marks. I'm not going to go into it. It's a teaching which I personally have got no use for. And I think that's what's been indicated here. The next verse tells us what the true marks of the Buddhas are. Before we look at that, what's the significance of the Buddhas not being Samskrita-made? Well, the Buddha here is enlightenment. And enlightenment was described in the previous verse as unborn. The unborn is not part of the world of conditionality, the world of cause and effect. The unborn is what embraces that world. The unborn is like the dreamer that gives rise to the world that we take as reality. So this is the significance of the Buddhas not being Samskrita made. They are independent. They are independent of conditions, of conditionality. And so what marks the Buddhas? What characterises the Buddha? It's not these marks of the Cakravartin. Verse 781 tells us what characterises the Buddhas is knowledge, jnana. It is devoid of the defects of intellection. It is an insight attained by self-realisation. It is removed from all defects. So this knowledge is gnosis. It is direct realisation. It's independent of the mind. The mind is what creates what I described in the previous video as stories. The mind consists of what verse 778 calls the imagination. The Buddha, enlightenment, bypasses the mind. It's devoid of the defects of intellection. It's devoid of the defects of the mind, the limiting stories of the mind. It's an insight attained by self-realisation. In other words, it is something available to you right here, right now, independent of anything you might find in this world. You have access to this right now via the awareness that is hearing these words. It is removed from all defects. And defects only exist in the world of cause and effect, in the world of the mind, in the world of imagination and stories. This awareness, which you constantly overlook, is pristine, it's pure. it gets sucked into things and it gets forgotten. It gets overshadowed, occluded. But in this awareness, in this self-realisation, is enlightenment, is the Buddha, is gnosis. It is pure. It is free. I've described it in the past as the rainbow body. This is a beautiful image which gives you a sense of it. Sometimes it's described as the unborn or as the void, but these terms are rather bleak. Let's call it the rainbow body. You have this aura around you of all these colours, but all these colours are actually wonderful qualities. The qualities of all-embracing, unconditional lovingness, of unfettered happiness, of resolution. Resolution in the sense of all frustrations are resolved. All sense of lack, of limitation is resolved. There's completion. And in this completion is serenity, equanimity, bliss. These are the colours, some of the colours of the rainbow body. This is the Buddha. This is what you have access to through the awareness that is hearing this, through your attention. Your attention is going outwards, perhaps going out to the sound of these words. You can forget these words, just bring the attention back, let it rest in itself. Never mind putting the attention out onto anything. Come back, get some sense perhaps of this serenity, sometimes called the Tathagata Garbha, the womb of the Buddha. The womb of the Buddha is what holds everything, gives birth to everything. But we're not interested in the everything, we're interested in the Tathagata, the one who dwells in suchness. The attention goes to suchness. It's the fullness of being. It's vibrant and luscious. This is our meditation.